Hopefully Intel is about to come save us with Battlemage and get us some affordable and awesome new graphics cards. We shall have to see, but there is a lot more information that could be coming soon. And we got some other rumors about like CPUs getting significantly faster this year, a whole bunch of other topics. Do we want to start with Battlemage or do we want to start with the CPU stuff? Maybe we'll get the CPU stuff out of the way first because it is kind of quick, as this one is mostly just a rumor. So there's some various quality levels of hardware leakers out there. Kepler has a better history than most, and it's looking like he's been spotted on the AnandTech or AnandTech, however you're supposed to pronounce that, forums, saying that core for core, Zen 5 is greater than 40% faster than Zen 4 in SPEC. So what exactly does that mean, right? So first of all, SPEC, videocards.com, which is where I found this, all my sources will be in the video description, is clarifying that this is the Standard Performance Evaluation Corporation benchmark tests. And so what exactly does that mean? Well, it could mean a lot of different things. And again, do we believe this anyway? Here's all I'm going to read into it. First of all, for gaming performance, single core is the biggest deal. I mean, there's also, like cache and, how well does things respond in gaming workloads versus just whatever this SPEC benchmark is telling us. But this could indicate a large gaming performance increase for the next generation, which would be really nice to see. But again, this is just kind of leaks and rumors, so I don't want to dwell on that too much. Other than when would we be expecting these? Probably towards the end of this year. But again, hard information is hard to come by at this point. So let's move on to our Battlemage topic. So Intel's Arc GPUs have been, they had a rough launch from a software perspective. They also came out later than we wanted. But man, if you're willing to look past a bit of that, their pricing has been pretty aggressive. For example, if I check Newegg right now, I can find an Arc A750 for $189.99. Now, that is a lot of performance for the price, and they've been willing to price very aggressively. However, again, software has been improving. You've still got a little less of a consistent experience than you would from AMD or NVIDIA on the software side of things. But it's been a while since we got Intel's Arc series. They've had a lot of time to iron things out. So that would be the next generation that we'd be hoping to get, see big things from. Now, there's been a lot of these popping up in a variety of places. So Intel Arc Xe2 HPG Battlemage, BMG G21, and G10 GPUs spotted in shipping manifests. So in other words, again, this is a videocards.com article, but it looks like the information source is MoMoMoUS on Twitter. Finding this. So a shipping manifest. Now, it's important to note that these are saying for R&D purposes, so it's not like these are shipping out to retailers immediately. But we are also seeing G21 and G10, so at least a couple of different GPU dies. And this does kind of line up with this roadmap, which was originally sourced from Red Gaming Tech, as looking like a leaked product roadmap. Now, this was from a while ago now, so the exact timelines could have changed by then, but they did have Battlemage with BMG G10, which would be the less than 225 watts chip, and then BMG G21 at less than 150 watts. And these kind of coming in, looks like the G21 coming in a bit after the G10, G10 coming in Q2 of 24. So it's possible that we're still kind of on this timeline. We'll have to see. Now, how excited do we get about this? I mean, this is going to depend on a lot of things. Pricing, performance, and timing, because toward the end of 2024, it's very likely we'll start to see a new product lineup coming from NVIDIA. However, they usually start with their most expensive models, like we might expect to get a 5090 maybe right at the end of 2024, and then they more slowly phase in the rest of the generation. So if Intel is still only kind of competing in the lower price and performance product classes, then it is possible that they could be getting out a year before, we'd actually be seeing competing next generation products. So they could still have a while to compete with what's out there currently from AMD and NVIDIA. So timing could be everything. With that in mind, I'm really hoping we get these out sooner rather than later. A lot of the rumors on what happened with the Arc series was that the hardware had been ready to go a lot earlier than it ended up launching because they had to get the software ready for release. And even then, when they did eventually release the software, still needed a lot of work. But a lot of that work has already now occurred with the Arc series, so I'm more hopeful that, Battlemage could get a stronger launch, stronger reviews with all of that software development. Now, speaking of, saying that we're seeing these a lot, right? That's not the only thing we've seen with Battlemage. I'm also seeing reported at WCCF Tech that we're seeing XE2 HPG, which would be Battlemage, 20 and 24 core GPUs spotted with 12 gigabytes of VRAM in a SI Software official benchmark ranker. Now, that's interesting because it means that they are being tested. It's also showing, like I said, about 12 gigabytes of VRAM. I think it's reporting as 11.6. And so it does point to these being, Intel graphics hardware that we don't currently have on the market. So it could be early test samples of Battlemage. But if you look at the actual performance they're putting out, it's actually below Intel's Arc series graphics cards, like the A770 and A750. Now, I wouldn't panic about that because at this early point in time, like I said, you might not have everything really up and running properly on Battlemage yet. So I wouldn't read too much into the actual benchmark scores. I would say more just the fact that we're seeing those scores pop up attached to this hardware does point to, these maybe being out there, getting some test runs going, that sort of thing. But again, no exact timeline on when we would hear about these. Although I believe Intel does have a major, event in April, so I would hope that maybe we'll hear more about this in April. If we're not hearing about it in April, I'm starting to get a little nervous about the timeline for release. But again, Intel's products offering very good pricing if you can, live with the less consistent software and compatibility experience than you get from the other brands. So very interested to see what we get from that. In other GPU pricing news, we're seeing headlines of AMD's 7900 XTX GPUs dropping below $900. Looks like that's happened to a few models. If I tracked one down right now, the best price I can find is a Power Color Hellhound 7900 XTX at Newegg, and you might be like, $950, that's not the best price, but it has a $60 off promo code, which does get you to that $889.99 price point. So it is looking like AMD's 7900 XTX cards are dropping in price, at least on certain models with certain promotions and things like that. Now, why would they be doing that? Well, NVIDIA's 4080 Super, which launched at the $1,000 price point, is starting to be more available at that price point. Every time I mention that, everybody's like, it's not available at that price point. Look, I could click add to cart right now, shipped and sold by Newegg today, as of the time of filming the video. Yes, they do still go out of stock, but they're popping back in stock at that price point more frequently. And as you've seen in my head-to-head comparisons, I would rather have a 4080 Super than a 7900 XTX since they get similar rasterized performance. It's not a mind-blowing difference. But then you do get the better feature set and ray tracing performance, which 4080 Super is strong enough to use some of those heavy-duty ray tracing settings, things like that. So I think it makes sense for AMD to have to be dropping the price a bit on the XTXs as the $1,000 price point does become more available on the 4080 Supers. There's still not a lot of 4080 Supers available at this price point, though. It's just that they're starting to pop up more available, at least on certain models. Now, as far as the 4090 goes, those are still unfortunately available around the $1,800 and up price range for the most part, ever since we had issues with China getting the 4090 bans. And so on a kind of related follow-up to that, remember that NVIDIA released a China-only version of the 4090 called the 4090D that was not as overclockable and had some cuts to it. in order to meet the export restrictions set to keep the government happy on all that. Well, it is looking like the 4090D can be overclocked and can restore its performance to standard 4090 FE levels. So looks like that's all kind of getting circumvented, at least on certain overclockable models and things like that. So who knows what that means, if they'll just start to put in more bans on more stuff or what. But hopefully what it means is that, at least for 4090 buyers around the world, is maybe if the 4090Ds are available in China and can just basically reach your 4090 levels of performance, maybe that will continue to help the availability worldwide and pricing on the 4090s. But we'll have to see. Now, a follow-up to some stories we've been reporting on recently is talking a lot about upgrades to FSR, as well as PlayStation's own machine learning upscaler PSSR, and whether or not there's any connection between those things. Because as we know, PlayStation, uses AMD hardware, although their machine learning block we don't know as much about for the PS5 Pro, and how closely that could match anything that AMD is bringing to the table in their future GPUs. So according to this article, which seems to be getting its information from a Moore's Law is Dead video, it's looking like FSR, so again, to be clear, that makes this rumors and leaks rather than officially confirmed information. It's looking like that, these are different technologies. PSSR, Sony's spectral super resolution, is not just a fork of FSR 4. So these are not going to be the same thing. So it'll be interesting in that sense to see how these compete with each other, and how our updates to FSR look compared to what Sony's able to deliver on the PS5 Pro. Now, speaking of the PS5 Pro, since we're on the topic, it's looking like Insider Gaming has a bit more leaks on this topic, talking about how certain games will be able to be branded as PS5 Pro Enhanced if they meet certain conditions. Those conditions include PSSR upscaling to 4K, or a constant 60 FPS, or adding or increasing ray tracing effects. It looks like it seems a little unclear when you read this whether it has to hit all of those things, because then it also sounds like if you hit at least one of these things, you could also have your game branded as PS5 Pro Enhanced. And this would be things like increased target resolution for titles that run a fixed resolution on the standard console, increased target maximum resolution for titles that run at variable resolution on the standard console, increased target frame rate for titles that target a fixed frame rate on the standard console, and inclusion of PS5 Pro ray tracing effects. So these seem similar, but maybe not exactly the same thing. So basically, what it's getting at is, like I said, just kind of the types of upgrades you would expect to existing titles, and just if they take advantage of those things, they can be labeled as PS5 Pro Enhanced. This is also coming from the same documents claiming that the upgrades in specs basically boil down to the RAM being 28% faster, the GPU being 67% larger. We're talking compared to the base model PS5. But the 67% larger GPU equates to 45% faster performance in gaming, and overall it would be about 45% faster. But it's important to note that that's GPU upgrades. The CPU upgrades are much more minimal. So if you look at recent games like Dragon's Dogma 2, which is very CPU limited in performance in the big cities, throwing a bigger GPU at the problem doesn't solve the problem. So those would be games that still wouldn't hit 60 FPS with the big GPU upgrade, because you're just not getting that. But it could possibly hit, Target? Did I just say Target? Higher target resolutions. And that's been my biggest thing on the PS5. I do have a PS5. I play it occasionally, but my issue with a lot of the games, I'm just waiting for them to come out on PC, because a lot of times the internal rendering resolution in the 60 FPS modes is just so low. And then when using upscaling technologies like FSR2 to try to come from like 720p to play on a 4K screen or something like that, it's just not quite good enough. So I really like the idea of not only a better quality upscaler, but then throwing the additional GPU performance at higher resolutions in those 60 FPS modes with better upscaling outputs. I think this sounds like a pretty great upgrade to me. It'll be interesting to see how all this pans out when it actually does come out, and all of that. By this point, though, these are looking like pretty solid rumors. Now, in other console, hardware space news, what about Xbox? So we're seeing a lot of discussion from Phil Spencer talking about various ideas with what, the future of Xbox could look like. And he seems very interested in a handheld Xbox. But could that be hardware, an app, or both? In other words, I'm very interested in whether we'll see some kind of version of almost like Windows, but more designed to run on handheld gaming PCs, to make because that's my favorite thing about the Steam Deck, is compared to the other things like the ROG Ally and things like that, is you just turn it on and it functions very smoothly like a console. Whereas on the other devices, you can tell you're going through a Windows layer, if that makes sense. And Windows itself isn't completely optimized for a handheld gaming console experience. If you look at some of the direct quotes here we have from Phil Spencer, he says, I want my Lenovo Legion Go to feel like an Xbox. I brought the Legion Go with me to GDC. I'm on the airplane and I have this list of everything that makes it not feel like an Xbox. Forget about the brand. More like, are all of my games there? Do my games show up with the save files that I want? I'll tell you one game that doesn't right now, and it's driving me crazy. It's Fallout 76. It doesn't have cross-save. I want to be able to boot into the Xbox app in a full screen, but in a compact mode, and all of my social experience is there. Like, I want it to feel like the dash of my Xbox when I turn on the television, except I want it on those devices. So this sounds pretty interesting to me, because even if this isn't technically like a future for an actual Xbox console, because that doesn't sound like exactly what he's saying here. It seems like he's very interested in this handheld gaming PC space, and it sounds like, what if Windows could basically just boot into the Xbox app, but have the Xbox app optimized for a handheld gaming PC, and just improving all of the cross-save compatibility and things like that. This sounds very interesting to me, because I really enjoy the handheld gaming PC stuff. Like honestly, I play Slay the Spire on my Steam Deck more often right now than I play on my gaming PC, just because as a dad, a lot of times it's easy to have 10 minutes on the couch where I just click on my Steam Deck and it just works, rather than like trying to boot up my PC and everything. Anyway, I'll move on from that to this other mention of Xbox hardware, which is, it looks like there's a white Xbox Series X without a disc reader being leaked out, with some pictures of the actual hardware here. And it's interesting to compare that with the leaked Project Brooklyn, which came from all of the Xbox leaks that happened a while back. Anyway, we'll have to see, what comes of this. Does this come out to market and all of that? But it's looking like, and I guess I'll throw this in a sort of console and Steam-related news, that apparently Putin wants Russia to make its own console and Steam-like platform. I saw this headline and kind of dug into it. It's looking like a lot of this was originally reported by PC Gamer, and it's kind of going off of this machine-translated quote, which from a Russian, government document or whatever, saying, consider the issue of organizing the production of stationary and portable game consoles, as well as the creation of an operating system and a cloud system for delivering games and programs to users. So, as PC Gamer's pointing out, that sounds a lot like Steam Machine, Steam Deck, SteamOS, and Steam. This seems to be a response to all of the sanctions, making it harder to get all of the game stuff that you might like in Russia. So they're interested in kind of, considering the option of creating a more homegrown alternative to all of those things. Now, speaking of homegrown alternatives, how about a homegrown alternative to the graphics card market? A new open source GPU is free to all. Fury GPU runs Quake at 60 FPS. supports modern Windows software. So this just looks interesting. It's making some headlines, so I thought I'd throw it in here. This is definitely not going to be playing Alan Wake 2 or Cyberpunk or anything like that, but it looks like a very interesting project, originally from Dylan Barry, who basically just looked at it, taking, what is it, a Xilinx FPGA design, and then made his own prototype PCIe graphics card out of it, including, he said the hardest part of all of it was programming the software side of things, basically making a Windows driver. Now again, this is running Quake, right, at 60 FPS, 720p. But the fact that it does it all is kind of interesting. So this looks like a cool project, and he does intend to open source the project. So thought I'd throw that in here as a cool little tidbit. Now, another thing I want to mention is, so we've got all of these, there's obviously a massive push towards AI in the industry, and we're seeing a big push towards NPUs being included on upcoming CPUs, especially in laptops and things like that, which might not have dedicated GPUs and things. So I've been looking into, so where is all of this going? What will this actually mean to the end user? And it's looking like it's that Microsoft is starting to outline what it means when it talks about an AI PC and what should be included on it. So it's looking like Windows AI PC, to get that, that's kind of a branding, a new classification of computers. To qualify for being a Windows AI PC, there must be a physical Copilot key on the keyboard. Additionally to that, it's looking like it will need a certain amount of, it will need an NPU with a certain level of performance. It's looking like 40 tops NPU performance as a minimum requirement, along with the Copilot key and running Copilot, obviously, to be a Windows AI PC. So that's kind of where the branding is going on this. Now, this is mostly coming us through Intel. So they're talking about it in terms of their Intel products, but it sounds like this wouldn't just be an Intel feature. So in other words, AMD's APUs are also coming with NPUs at I think performance levels even above what we're seeing on the Intel ones. I don't track that part of the hardware market quite as closely, because again, I was trying to figure out what are these even being used for. So it's looking like Copilot is at least being they're looking at running more of it locally rather than in the cloud, I think. And then needing a certain minimum level of TOPS performance on the local NPU to enable certain features like that. Now, a lot of AI stuff really does, to me, sound like it would still need a more powerful thing and would probably need to run in the cloud still, but having some minimal functions available offline would be interesting, I suppose. So I don't know, I'm just really curious where all of this goes, since there's such a huge push towards this in the industry. Now, another thing I'm really monitoring right now is OLED monitors, because, so for me personally, the next big gaming PC setup purchase I'm looking at is a monitor upgrade with the 4K 240Hz OLED monitors releasing this year in a 32-inch form factor. Because currently I am still using my LG C1 OLED TV, which is a 48-inch 4K TV, but OLED TV, and it goes to 120 hertz, and it's 48 inches. So the pixel density is a bit lower than I would like, although I do sit pretty far back from it, so it's not too bad, really. But also going up to 240 hertz would be really nice, especially when you kick on frame generation, things like that. You can still get screen tearing when you go beyond your monitor's max refresh rate, and things like that. So this, and it's also looking like there's some improvements in the new OLED monitors on their text clarity, which was another issue with a lot of the previous OLED designs. Now, what I'm showing you here is from a Monitors Unboxed review video. Looking at the new 4K 240Hz WOLED monitor that switches into the 480Hz mode. I was mostly waiting for these reviews to come out before deciding if I want to get the QD OLED version or the WOLED version with the 480Hz mode. And unfortunately, I still haven't made up my mind. I'm almost considering doing a video, not that I review monitors, but just talking through my painful decision here, because this is a big purchase, and there's a lot to be said for both technologies, and I'm really interested in that 480Hz mode, mostly just to experience a 480Hz monitor. but I really don't know if I'd actually use it that much. I'm also interested in testing out like frame generation on a like how does it actually look at that level of frame rates and things like that. So anyway, I'll have to see what to make of this. I need to do some more research and make my final decision. Also, the WOLED one seems to be coming in the matte finish, whereas a lot of the QD OLEDs have more of a glossy finish. So, I don't know. You guys tell me in the comment section which one I should buy, please. I can't make up my mind. And the last thing I'll leave you with is I've been really interested in where LTT Labs will go as they start to get more up and running, especially when it comes to GPU reviews. So it's looking like a beta version of the LTT Labs website is up and starting to publish some actual GPU review content, although it's very clear that this is kind of a inaugural post, they're calling it, to set the stage for what's to come. But I think they're looking for feedback and things like that on the product. Like if we look through the 7600 XT 16GB review, which is what they have up here, there is a lot of information available here and very easy to access without multiple pages. Instead, you have a lot of expandable boxes on the same page, which I do like. However, something about the font and the layout just feels a bit weird to me. I don't know about the font or something about the layout with the font. It just feels a little bit hard to look at to me. I don't know why. So that's one thing I've got, but I do like that they have their benchmark graphs up here and you can just kind of quickly tab to the review that you're looking for. I did notice there was only, 8 or 9 games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like they only have about 8 games in the overall averages, at least so far. But you can easily change to, the resolution, which game you're looking at, whether you're doing the overall average. And they also have a ray tracing broken out as its own separate benchmark dropdown, which is nice. Although I noticed that they lost their Arc GPU when they went to the ray tracing performance. But again, I think this is more a trial run of kind of throwing together the website and seeing what it looks like. I do also like that they have some productivity workloads, including Blender and Cinebench. And they do have a ton of synthetic benchmarks, because I think, isn't a lot of their benchmarking automated? So it's probably easiest for them to automate the synthetic benchmarks. And it's a lot harder to automate runs of actual games, which is probably somewhat limiting those results. But anyway, I thought I'd point out that they did get one up here if you want to take a look at where LTT Labs is going with all of this. Hopefully you guys found today's video useful and or interesting. Huge thank you to viewers, commenters, subscribers, and especially channel members who click the join button to directly support the channel financially. That is absolutely amazing. And I hope all of you, and I totally understand not everybody's able to support directly, so that is absolutely fine. Just huge thank you to everybody and hope all of you have an excellent day.